Hello, I'm Belkys Perez. Thanks for tuning into Coral Gables Television. Today on Coral Gables Now, we'll introduce you to a track and field superstar training for the 2012 Olympics.
Coral Gables is a lot safer. I'll tell you why.
And what's a business plan? We'll learn how to create one and why it's so important to have one. Those stories and much more, Coral Gables Now starts right now. Welcome to Coral Gables Now. I'm Belkys Perez. First today on the show, there is an international sports star among us. Track and field Olympian Lauryn Williams is currently training in Coral Gables to compete in the 2012 Olympics in London. David Alvarez met her and learned a little bit more about her.
Thanks, Belkys. And that international sports star is the University of Miami's own Lauryn Williams. Now, that name might sound familiar because she is a two-time Olympic competitor, and she's getting ready for the 2012 London Games.
It is here at the University of Miami track that champions have trained for greatness. On any hot, sunny day, you find Lauryn Williams doing what she does best, running. For Williams, speed came naturally, even at a young age.
Well, I started running when I was about 9 years old, and my mom tells a story that I got faster than my German Shepherd, and so that's when she knew she needed to get me into a track program. I've pretty much been running ever since.
When it came to college, Williams wanted to run for a school with warm weather and where she could get a good education. She decided to bring her talents to Coral Gables at the University of Miami, where she had a successful college career. It wasn't until her senior year when people started to notice she had an amazing talent.
2004 was the year that I made my first Olympic team, and really the goal that year was just to win the NCAA title. I had got to the national championships quite a few times and even made it to the finals, but I had never won the race, and so I was really training with a vengeance to, just win that NCAA title. And it ended up paying off abundantly, where not only did I win the NCAA title, but I ran the second fastest time in the world for that whole year, and I immediately had to turn my attention to preparing for the 2004 Olympic Games as the fastest American.
It was in Athens where a 20-year-old Williams made her first Olympic appearance. A nerve-wracking experience for maybe anybody, but Williams remained focused and was excited to represent her country. She took home a silver medal. After many other championships and another trip to the 2008 Olympics, Williams racked up many medals. But Williams knew that the medals in the races would only last for so long. She decided to help future athletes like herself prepare for life after sports.
I've graduated from the University of Miami with a finance degree. I got an MBA from the University of Phoenix, and now I'm working in the athletic department doing life skills and community relations, which is really, all the different things outside of, academics and sports to make sure that the athletes are well-rounded people. So I'm really enjoying that in addition to my full-time training. And I've been very fortunate the University of Miami has been so great to me that I get to train here, use the same weight room, the same track coach that I've had all this time, and, be able to go up and down the stairs, from a real job to, being able to come out here on the track.
Now training for her third Olympic appearance in 2012, her focus has never faltered.
2012 London Games, I'd like to go for gold. Hopefully the third time is a charm.
Now, Williams will continue training and balancing her job and also the community efforts she does around the University of Miami. But make sure you will see her almost every day out here at the track training to take home the gold. For Coral Gables Now, David Alvarez. Back to you, Belkys.
All right, thanks, David. Coral Gables Now is just getting started. Next, the city's crime statistics are in for last year, and we'll go over the numbers with you. And if you're starting a business, stay tuned. We'll show you how having a business plan will increase your chances of that business succeeding. We'll be right back.
On June 4th, my big brother was sentenced to 5 years in prison for a gun crime. That day, he sentenced me to 5 years of walking home alone from school.
When you commit a gun crime, your family pays the price.
And good news is coming out of the Coral Gables Police Department. The 2010 crime statistics are out. Rodolfo Roman has that story and others on City News.
Thanks, Belkys. You know, experts argue that during an economic recession, crime increases. However, according to the latest Coral Gables Police Department statistics, which I have in my hand, that is the complete opposite here in the City Beautiful. Total overall crime in Coral Gables has dropped. Recent police data has reported that there is a 7% decrease in total offenses, non-violent and violent crimes compared to last year. But thefts from buildings like office spaces did increase by 28% compared to 2009 figures. Data shows that in 2010 compared to 2009, there were 20% fewer burglaries, 15% fewer attempted burglaries, and 31% fewer thefts of motor vehicles. Keep in mind that the numbers have to be certified by Florida Department of Law Enforcement. Listen up, residents. South Florida could be on the verge of experiencing the worst drought conditions in 80 years. The issue has caught the attention of the South Florida Water Management District Governing Board to protect regional water supplies. A water shortage warning approved the action. Residents and businesses are encouraged to voluntarily reduce water use. The board said it is the driest October to February period since the district record keeping began 80 years ago. Moving forward, drummers led the way in a walkathon at the Coral Gables Senior High School racetrack. More than 1,000 teachers, students, and staff of the school came together for the annual Bridge for Peace walkathon. The event helped raise at least $14,000 for an elementary school adopted in Peru. And on a final note, one of Coral Gables firefighters' newest toys has been credited for putting off flames at an apartment. Take a look at the thermal imaging camera. It makes it easier for firefighters to see the source of a fire structure. It recently helped combat flames on the 8th floor at a Biltmore Way apartment building. The camera picks up body heat when people who are trapped cannot be found. The equipment will be vital for saving lives. From the Coral Gables Police Department, Rodolfo Roman.
All right, thanks, Rodolfo. And did you know that having a business plan increases the chances of your business succeeding? Joining us today is Gary Opper, Managing Member of Levy Opper LLC, and he's here to guide us through the process of creating one. Thanks for joining us again, Gary.
Thank you, Belkys.
So, you know, we all have kind of an idea, a dream of owning our own business one day, but we never follow through. You know, it's hard to put it into perspective. Now, how does a business plan, though, work in that? How do you connect those two together? Why is it important to have one?
Well, everyone has an idea, and at the end of the day, you want a business. Mm-hmm. And obviously, one of the ways that you get there is if you have a business plan, you have a path. You know, like in The Wizard of Oz, you went down a path and they got to the Emerald City and whatever. In fact, there was a study done in 1979 at Harvard, and it was done, and they asked the MBA graduates, "Do you have a business plan?" And only 3%. Now this is at Harvard. Yeah. Only 3% of the population that they asked had a written business plan.
Wow.
And 13%. So don't feel bad.
Yeah.
And 13% had a plan, but it wasn't written. And 84% had no plan at all. And after 10 years or whatever, they went back and they asked the people, you know, how much they were making, whatever. The people who were that 13%, they were making twice as much as the people who had no plan at all. The people who had the written plan, that 3%, they were making 10 times what the masses of people. Now these are Harvard graduates who had no plan at all. So I think the summary is, obviously, if you have a plan and it's written, you know, you obviously have the greatest chance of achieving your goal.
So when you say a plan, what is it that's in this plan? Your ideas for the business, or does it go much farther than that? Is it more detailed?
Well, yes, you should have a detailed plan, and it has everything that you need to go from your idea, I can't say that word, to to the business itself.
Okay.
And in there, you know, it should have, you know, a executive summary. You should have a to-do list, a marketing plan, a management plan, your goals, your mission, whatever you need to get from, you know, your thought that I have this good, you know, I have this rose, you know, I want to sell roses and palm trees, or I want to sell chocolate, or whatever, I want to start a manufacturing plant, whatever it is, to get from that thought process to actually having a business.
Now, so what you're saying is, regardless of the business that you've got, that you're thinking of, you should have a business plan.
You should have a business plan, yes. And even if it's something unrelated to business, like say a nonprofit, or if you have personal goals, like let's say you want to learn French or you want to know how to play the guitar, and obviously if you have them written down, maybe not as structured as a business plan, but just written down and it's staring you in the face, obviously it's a lot easier to look at this, something written down, and say, well, I need to achieve this, and I'm going to start with this number 1 or number 2 or number 3, rather than have these ideas in your head, and they're just floating around in your head, and it's not nearly as concrete as when you write them down.
So how long, is there like a pattern? Is there a template? How long should it be when you do one?
Well, there's no right or wrong answer as to how long it should be. Obviously, if you're starting some type of a manufacturing plant, it's going to be more detailed than if you're going to sell roses and palm trees somewhere. So it just depends on that. It should be at least 10 to 20 pages long. The one that I have.
I was just going to ask you have one for your business?
I have at least 2 that I've used and implemented, but I have some that are just sitting on a shelf waiting for the right time or right person to come along to implement the plan. But my first business plan, which was my best one so far.
Your CPA?
No, it was for my mortgage company.
For your mortgage, okay.
But it started off, it was 26 pages long, and it had over 50 pages of appendices of things that I thought were important that I wanted to have to close by to look at that weren't necessarily in the plan itself. So mine was 26 pages. Wow. I usually tell people they should take at least 2 months to a month to prepare. I took a lot longer in writing mine. I guess I'm a little slow, but you want to have everything in there, and you want to have what your goals are. If you want to increase business, it's not necessarily just for starting out. If you have a going business and you want to have your business grow, obviously, again, having a plan, having a way to get there, you're much more likely to get there than wandering around.
So is it a living document then? Is it always changing?
Yes, it is. Of course, yes.
It is. How you said it takes a while depending on to implement it. Is there any other non-traditional uses for business plans?
Yeah, well, we kind of touched on that, and obviously, if you have, even getting a job, in this market, you may want to have not necessarily a full-blown business plan, but you want to have written down what's your steps, because obviously days can slip by. You've lost your mojo, and just you're sitting around. And if you have something written down that says I'm going to contact these people today and these people next week, then obviously that's going to get you there quicker and further than just having I need to go out and get a job.
So that's part of the plan, to write down the contacts or
yeah, I mean,
people
it's very,
you want to reach out
writing down. I mean, I can't emphasize that enough. That
I know you wouldn't think
it's
down. All in your head. Why
Well, I mean, I have about 5 articles that I've written that are published that on business plans, and people have come to me and asked me to help them with a business plan, and I'll even send them my template. And I'd say out of the 10 people that have asked me over the last 5 years, I have never seen anybody give me back their finished product, and I think probably only 1 or 2 people have even started it. So again, even at Harvard, you have these people that know how important a business plan is, and you only have 3%.
Yeah. Incredible.
And you have so few people who really sit down and do a business plan.
And is there, obviously this is pretty brief, is there anywhere else that you can go to actually get more details on what a plan should look like?
Yes, in the library there's a lot of books about business plans. At bookstores there's whole sections on business plans. Of course, the internet, you can look, you type in business plans. My articles are probably online. If you type in Gary Opper business plan, they probably show up. But there's lots of resources. You can also there's also SCORE, which is retired businessmen. They work for the government now, and they can help you with a business plan. There's courses at Miami-Dade offers courses. I'm sure the other FIU and other places offer community college, community evening classes, I guess, in writing business plans.
And I'm curious, when you're starting a business and you want to get funding, or you're trying to pitch this to a potential partner or something, do they ask you for a business plan?
Yes. I mean, obviously, if someone goes to a bank and they want to borrow money, the bank's going to ask them, what's your plan? Obviously, if you present them a business plan, which isn't necessarily the same business plan that you have for yourself, because the bank needs certain information, but some information might be superfluous to them. Obviously, you're not going to hide information, but if the bank sees that sees a business plan, they're going to see you're very serious. You're that 3%. Hopefully, the bank asks 100% of their people.
Yeah.
But if you go to a venture capital group, or you go to an individual, they're going to want to see how professional you are, and they want to see that business plan, and that goes a lot further than just having a conversation.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Gary. And what are we going to be talking about for next month?
Next month, we're going to talk about, now that you have this business, we're going to talk about how to increase the value of a small business.
We should make up a business and go through the process and see if it works out.
We'll write the plan this week.
We'll write it, yeah. All right. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
All right, and coming up next on Coral Gables Now, we'll introduce you to a senior resident who hasn't let retirement slow him down. We'll tell you about a couple of classes he's involved with at the Adult Activity Center. We'll be right back.
Hello there. Having a lasting effect on a kid's life can be quick and easy.
Here's some stuff we've learned.
From time to time, secret codes may be used. It's not uncommon for a kid to demonstrate special powers.
Costumes can be uncomfortable, but loads of fun. Moments like these happen every day.
Lend your support. Go to bigbrothersbigsisters.org.
That's all for now.
The Coral Gables Adult Activity Center has several retired professionals who volunteer to lead several groups and activities and also teach instructional classes at the center. And joining us today is one such volunteer. His name is Jim Pollack, and he actually is in charge of 2 groups over there at the center. Welcome.
Hey, how are you?
Good, thank you. You are a resident of Coral Gables.
For 50 years.
For 50 years. Not many people can say that. Tell me how you first got started. You're teaching the jazz classics.
Jazz classics and the current events.
And the current events. Now, how did you get started even volunteering for the center? Did you learn of it first and attend?
I think my wife knew somebody that was involved, and she asked them about these kind of things, and they said they have 2 openings, and one was for current events because the man who had been running that program passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And the jazz, I just told them if they had some people, I could do that too.
So basically your wife got you into this mess.
Yes.
So the first one, as you said, the first class that you took on was the Jazz Classics class, and it gets a lot of men involved in the classes, which is not very common in the senior center. It's mostly made up of women, so that's a good thing. But my question is, your background is an attorney.
Yes.
So tell me about this jazz area that you've gotten into.
When I was 7 or 8 years old, back in the late 30s, my father had a cousin who played in Abe Lyman's band. Abe Lyman was a very popular band in those days, played on the Jack Benny radio show, and we used to invite him to our house for dinner when they were in Cleveland, where we used to live. And one day he came and he brought me a 78 recording, which is all they had in those days, and I played it, and I had always known Abe Lyman being a band like Guy Lombardo type sweet music, but they also had done a number of recordings which I didn't know about, hot music, swing music of the time, and this was one of those recordings, and I played it. We had an old-fashioned 78 player, and I began to appreciate the type of music it was. I liked it. I wanted to hear more, and we had neighbors who had the more modern, that played 12 records at one time, and they had a great collection of swing music. And that's how I started to like that kind of music.
And so from that, you've also done radio shows.
Yes, we had a radio show for about 2 years, that started out as once a month and ended up as once a week on the weekend for 4 hours at a time.
And so when you go to the center and you attend one of your jazz classic classes, tell me what you can expect when you go. What can a senior expect when they go?
Well, I have with me, I take for these classes a portable player that plays CDs and tapes, so I'm limited to that kind of stuff, but I have a good collection of both of those. And I didn't know what to expect, but I told the people if they like Louis Armstrong and Benny Goodman, they're going to like what I do.
And do you mostly play music during the class?
Mostly music, and I explain
lesson?
Sometimes who's on it and if there was any connection with me with the artists.
Okay. And the second class, as you said, is the current events class.
Yes.
Which was led by someone else, and he passed away, unfortunately. But a very interesting class as well.
Yeah, he was on every week. I'm only on once every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. How has it been for you to get involved with that class? It seems like it could be controversial at times.
Well, it is controversial, and we have in the class people on both sides of the spectrum, and I try to promote the questions of in which current events there will be a little controversy, and sometimes it explodes.
So, such topics as anything that's happening right now, right?
Anything that's happening right now, or what may happen based on something that is in the future.
Okay. And the class is really, especially that one, it is open to discussion, and people can express their views, and I guess that's why it becomes...
That's what most of it is.
Okay. And how do you pick your topics? Do you just go through the newspaper and whatever is actually happening at that moment?
I do read the newspaper every day, and, you know, you watch the news, and whatever I think is going to be interesting and possibly controversial, I do.
Is this your first experience in an instructional setting where you're the leader of a group like this?
Yes, this is the first time I've done something like that.
And how's it been for you so far?
The people that attended seem to be very happy about the subject matter each time, and it produces, it makes them think, and that the idea is to get the seniors in their minds to keep working so they have something to think about.
And obviously you stopped working a while ago, and you haven't stopped. You're still, you know, between this and other activities, you're really booked.
I also, 2 mornings a week, I work for the legal aid. Our program is called Put Something Back, and I see people that are in need of legal advice or need a lawyer, and we try to get them lawyers or give them advice if we can. And those are people who have low incomes and need that kind of work.
And why did you get involved with that?
I wanted to have something on my mind to do after I retired, and my wife, again, she knew the lady that is overall in charge of the program. I think they attend the same gym class, and she mentioned something to her, and they tried me out, and I've been there for 2 years now.
What type of people do you see when you go to this?
Almost always they're people of low income who have problems, legal problems that they should have taken care of a number of months or years ago and never did because they didn't want to spend the money or didn't have it.
Okay. And so do you try and give them then the advice, or do you...
We try to give them advice if we can give them advice to solve their problem. If they need a lawyer that we are able to supply them, we put them on a list for law that doesn't charge them anything or very little.
Okay. And, you know, I think it's a great thing that you're doing because it seems like you are very busy throughout your week, and so it's an important thing for seniors to do, to not, when you retire, just sit back. You're still active in the community and still doing things.
And it keeps my brain moving, too, so it's very good for me as well.
All right. Well, thanks, Jim. I appreciate you coming.
Well, thank you for having me, and I'd like to hope that I can get some more people to attend these seminars of both kinds.
Absolutely, and I'm actually going to give the information. Your jazz group, it meets every fourth Wednesday at 1 p.m. And the current events group meets every second and fourth Friday of the month, and that's at 12:30. So if you want any information or you want to sign up for any of these two classes, you can call Anastasia Smith or you can call Letty Ellis at 305-460-5609.
And they're wonderful people, the way they handle everything.
They are. They're very dedicated, so that's a good thing to they're a wealth of information as well. And that does it for this edition of Coral Gables Now. Thanks for watching Coral Gables Television. And if you haven't made it out to Jazz in the Gables, which happens every Wednesday at the Plaza at the Coral Gables Museum, you should make it out there because in April it ends. So the performances are held from noon to 2 p.m. on Wednesdays. We'll see you next month here on Coral Gables Now. Take care.